Hello, Rishi. Very nice to be here. Such a good first day and a good crowd. How are you doing?
I'm feeling fantastic. It's a huge event. It's terrific to be here. I'm delighted to be sitting next to you, and thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yeah. So, as we all know, that ASIFMA sits right between financial institutions, fintech, law firms. There are over 160 companies with which whom you interact on a daily basis. So, in your experience, what you have seen recently, how these institutions are exploring AI, and what shifts in the past 1 or 2 years you have noticed, given your experience in the conferences and being in the right spot in the industry?
Yeah, it's quite interesting because we've seen quite an evolution of AI over the last couple of years, right? We've gone from experimentation into actual use case deployment now, and firms are getting more and more comfortable with the idea of deploying it in production, actually having it generate, results, and actually taking it from, like I said, from concept to execution. So we are now seeing firms across the spectrum, whether big, small, across multiple sectors, actually taking the use cases and deploying it across multiple spheres, usually on the internal side, so typically within the walls of their firm. However, when it comes to the external, the client-facing side, we are seeing firms get more and more comfortable with that concept as well. So it's, from our position, we are seeing that evolution where the conversation has evolved from, okay, we know what guardrails are in place, how comfortable are we with actually taking this forward, to, okay, we've got use cases in production now, let's talk about scaling, right? So it's quite interesting and exciting to see that adaptation in firms, like I said, getting more and more comfort with using AI across a range of use cases within their organization.
That's really interesting, actually, and to hear about that. Financial institutions, especially when there's so much scrutiny on them, and now they are expanding towards from internal efficiency to how they can put it in front of the client. And actually at Dyna.AI, so what I was saying, right, you mentioned, right, that now the financial institutions are moving towards having use cases for the external customers as well. And at Dyna.AI, we saw that the customers, that one of the bank currently started with an external use case rather than the internal one. And that is the shift we are seeing currently in the market. Apart from the internal and external use cases, what are the functions which banks and institutions are thinking about? Whether it's in the trading, it's in the compliance or client engagement, where you are seeing the most traction coming up, or the banks are just going in silos and trying to build different use cases?
Yeah, it's interesting. Let's take each one of those in turn. Yeah. Certainly in the trading sphere, AI itself is not necessarily new, right? Firms have been deploying AI in the form of LLMs and algos in terms of high-frequency trading for a long time, right? What AI is doing now in terms of trading is actually giving them more access to information and synthesizing that information better to make better execution decisions, right? We are seeing a lot of use cases on the compliance side. So whether it's automating regulatory reporting, whether it's AML, KYC, CFT solutions, complying with sanctions, a whole different set of use cases within the compliance sphere, which is, like I said, taking a lot of the inefficiency out and automating a lot of the processes. If we then talk about the client and revenue generation side, that's where firms are getting more and more comfortable, right? So we are now seeing one of the biggest use cases we see is actually synthesizing research, right? So if you're a research analyst, you obviously are always trying to obtain the insights from multiple, very wide sets of information. And that requires a lot of reading, a lot of background knowledge, et cetera, et cetera. The AI summarization and synthesization tools that come with that are now giving research analysts a better ability to provide greater insights to particular stocks or particular sectors, but also on a more frequent basis as well. So we're now seeing, whereas a client research report used to be 2-3 pages or 5-10 pages on a particular stock, what we're seeing now is, over the course of the day, 10, 15, 20 research pieces coming out, but bite size. So a few dot points or a page at most, but coming out on a much more frequent basis, right? That is then giving their clients the ability to analyze that information in a much more bite-sized way, of course with the more comprehensive information behind it, but really being able to say, because markets move so quickly, because the dynamism is there so much, having that ability to react to market signals through these very frequent bite-sized pieces of information is giving them another edge, that they can actually trade on as well.
Actually, that is very interesting that you mentioned about, and I'll actually come from your compliance angle. Like, I attended a conference last week, and the head of compliance, he was saying, oh, I don't want my compliance people to just look into Excels and just say this is red, this is green. I just don't want them. They can utilize, they can do something better, even going outside for a coffee. I just want to be more optimized and get it done. And in the compliance space especially, like what we have seen in the market, there are some call evaluation, that a person is just sitting and listening to some conversation and trying to identify something. And these are such simple use cases which AI can completely pick up, and the efforts from the other teams can be spent on something else. And now coming to your research part, which you clearly mentioned about that the long reports are turning into short bits and short spaces. As we can see, the attention span of people are getting shorter and shorter. Like even ChatGPT response or any other LLM response to the long response, we just want short answers and short. And same is going to the research as well. That the clients want, just tell me what exactly needs to be done. Nobody wants to listen a hour video or something. Just give me the shortcuts and stuff and all. And I guess you are seeing the same in the research space, in the videos and the podcasts and stuff. And what do you see? Is this a trend happening in Asia, or how does it differ from I've seen you work in Singapore, Sydney, Hong Kong. So how other geographies are doing it? And given in Australia, right, like people still have a little bit of time and they take it with the ease. Are they adapting it? And in Hong Kong, where everything moves at a very fast speed, and then now coming to Singapore is just a balance between Australia and Hong Kong. So how do you see the trend between the different geographies and how they are doing it?
Yeah, it's quite interesting because from ASIFMA's point of view, we work across the entire Asia region, but we also have sister associations in Europe and the US as well, right? And so the game has changed quite a lot now. If we take Asia, we obviously are a very heterogeneous region. We have a multiplicity of jurisdictions, each with their own various AI frameworks, and how they approach it tends to be a little bit different across geographies. Certainly, you're right. Singapore continues to be a huge leader, and we have a very predictable principles-based system here, which allows firms to really experiment and grow their innovation labs, right? It's very much here around centering around guardrails and safe and responsible deployment of AI. That's something similar to what we see in Australia as well as Hong Kong. So we see these principles-based frameworks which allow the industry to not only experiment but also innovate as well within a set of guardrails. So it's not so prescriptive. It's more saying, okay, here's what we want you to have regard to in your development life cycle, in your deployment. But other than that, go nuts, right? That's very different to, say, the EU, which is obviously a very prescriptive regime. There are not only guardrails, but also risk classifications. There's extraterritorial application. It's perhaps a little bit more of a restrictive environment in terms of the organic growth of AI. Here, it's a little bit more unleashed, right? And so certainly I see Asia as a future leader, a current leader and a future leader in terms of AI deployment and AI upscaling as well. That gives me a tremendous amount of excitement. If we take it beyond Australia, Singapore, Hong Kong, we also have other jurisdictions in the region which are moving, Japan, Korea, and of course Taiwan as well. We have been very active in contributing to those discussions as well. And again, we see a little bit of a disparity where, Japan has a very principles-based legislative framework. So it's not principles-based, it is a full legislation, but there are no compliance penalties attached. It's very much around trying to grow the rate of AI adoption within Japan and then externally facing out of Japan as well. Korea has gone for a slightly different approach. Again, a full legislative regime, but with risk classification systems, extraterritorial application, and very largely modeled on the EU AI Act. Again, we are pretty active on that front, and the AI Basic Act is taking effect in January next year. There are more questions than answers, I would say, right now. But like I said, this is one of the benefits of being in Singapore. It's a very predictable, stable, principles-based framework. And we see that across the major jurisdictions in Asia, which again allows the industry to innovate, encourage. And you can see it reflected here, right? There's such a proliferation of AI service providers. It's tremendously exciting. And we're only on day one of SFF, but I've been at the Insights Forum the last couple of days. And again, AI has really dominated the conversation now. One of the trends that we are seeing is that there is much more conversation now, and we've been expecting this, and certainly from an ASIFMA perspective, we have been trying to let our members know about this. There is much more conversation now around agentic AI and the capabilities of that, right? That's a conversation I think that we still need to have with regulators in terms of what the risk classifications and risk considerations are. But certainly we are now seeing the industry moving from, walking to perhaps jogging or slow running when it comes to agentic AI. That I think is going to be quite transformational, particularly in the financial services world, where we are very process heavy. There are a lot of internal compliance functions that stand to benefit from being automated. And we have the historical data that enables you to actually deploy that agentic where you can empower the agent to make autonomous decisions. The question from a regulatory perspective is, what does that mean for humans in the loop?
And that's actually very good point of view. You summarized Asia, and then you have mentioned the sensitivity about the Europeans and how the US is coming along. And I can only talk about Singapore because I'm in here, but we do have offices in Hong Kong and other parts of Southeast Asia, in Dubai and other regions as well. But I'm really amazed by how Singapore government and how MAS has put efforts, created a community PathFin just for making sure that they get the right participants in, whether it's from the technology providers or the financial institutions, and make an ecosystem to make sure, and we are all compliant when we use the AI in our organization, and especially in the financial firms. And like you mentioned about the tech firms, right? So you have a lot of members which are traditional technology providers. How do you see the shift when people come to in, because their bread and butter is tech, and now the agentic AI and the AI capabilities come in, and when you attend these conferences and the topic shifts to AI, how they are prepared and what steps they are doing to have AI in it. I'm pretty sure their clients must be asking, but it would be good to see that how you see the trend in your conferences you organized in Singapore and in other parts of the region as well.
Yeah, it's interesting because you're absolutely right. The conversation, even among the tech providers, has gone to now, how do we deploy, right? And you're right, it is the client drive, right? Now, there's one other thing I want to mention, and you touched on it before. Singapore has positioned itself as a leader in terms of AI innovation deployment because it's a whole of government approach, right? It really is from the top level down, positioning Singapore to be an AI center, certainly within Asia and across the world, right? Now, PathFin is a perfect example of that, where, as you say, it's about bringing the ecosystem together, the demand and the supply across the big end of town, the small end of town, and everyone in between, including the IT service providers, right? To say, okay, how do we connect the demand with the supply more closely? So from the IT service providers, we have noticed that perhaps previously they weren't so comfortable, necessarily engaging with the ecosystem. They didn't necessarily have the confidence or the skills to adapt to be able to engage with a number of different stakeholders. That has really changed now, right? And so there is a lot more direct engagement now between the solution providers, the solution deployers, and the customer base, right? Now, of course, we still play a facilitating role.
Yeah.
And we also help through our collaborations with, say, MAS to bring those two parts of the ecosystem closer together.
Yeah.
But we are finding that the gap is closing even more.
Okay.
I think that gives us a lot of excitement about the potential for the future.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, again, if you're a bank, if you're a hedge fund, if you're an asset manager, if you're an infrastructure, you're thinking about how you not only improve efficiencies, but actually make the client experience better as well.
Exactly.
And AI can help with both sides of that, right?
True. And right now we are actually at the point where people have started talking about not just efficiency, but how they can generate more revenues. And now we are coming to the time talking about the future. Let's say if we do this fire chat again in 2027, what would be the one thing you will see that, okay, I knew that this is the AI will revolutionize this, or any other topic or anything you can highlight that I know a lot can change with the speed of AI, but what would be the one thing which you would like to let our audience know and would be helpful to know your insights as well?
Okay, let me pull out my crystal ball and try to gaze into the future. If I may, let me actually talk about two trends that I think we're going to see over the next few years.
Yeah.
The first, and I know Dyna.AI is very active in this space, is unsurprisingly agentic.
Yeah.
Like I said, the conversation has really started to go up an exponential curve when it comes to talking about agentic deployment, right?
Yeah.
I think that trend is going to continue. And like I said, in the financial services world, there's tremendous potential there.
Yeah.
Absolutely tremendous potential. So I think we're certainly going to be talking about agentic AI a lot more in the next couple of years. The second one, and this goes to what you were saying before, I think we're going to see a lot more client-facing applications of AI. So not only within the walls of the firm for efficiency gains, but actually externally facing, client-facing. We've already seen it in terms of chatbots, and that's there. But we're also going to see it in terms of actual revenue generation opportunities, right? In the institutional financial markets, we've already talked about research synthesis and better presentation and more frequent presentation. I think we're going to build on those use cases, right? So I think where a client engages in the institutional world with a sell side or with an infrastructure, their ability to deploy AI across the entire life cycle, leveraging the very rich data set that the financial markets have, that's again going to go exponential. So I would like to see in the next couple of years, AI become much more front-facing and client-facing.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And we also hope that we'll see a lot of agentic AI, and we work with our clients to see more revenue generation, and that's going to make a real difference. Thank you for your insights, Rishi. It was really nice having a great conversation with you.
Thank you for having
so
me.
much.
It's a pleasure to be here.